Hello everyone and welcome to my channel. If you are new, if you're not new, welcome back to my channel. My name is Marina. I'm doing something that I have not done in the past few years. We're doing a mid-year book freakout tag today. I'm very excited because I've actually read enough books this year to do one of these. The reason why I didn't do one last year is because I barely read anything last year. As you guys know, I was in the trenches. It was embarrassing. But this year I've changed my tune. I have actually been reading somewhat consistently, trying to read since 2026 started, and it has paid off in this moment, so that we can do a mid-year book freakout tag. I love watching these from different creators and I do love doing them. It's just, how can I do a mid-year book freakout tag or any book tag if I'm not reading, So I have a whole list of books that I will be going through as I read off the questions for this tag. And yeah, let's not waste any more time. Without further ado, let's get into it. The first question is, what is the best book you've read so far in 2026? This was kind of hard for me because I didn't want to pick multiple answers, but some of these questions do have multiple answers because I'm just indecisive, I did want to choose just one book for this because I do think in my heart of hearts there is like one book that really is so far unbeatable in terms of like my best book I've read this year, and a lot of you guys might be able to guess. Blood Over Bright Haven by M.L. Wong. Read this a few months ago for I think physical TBR video where I read all of my predicted 5-star reads, and this definitely was a 5-star read for me. Might also just be like a 6-star read. I don't usually do the 6-star thing, but like I think of like phenomenal books that I've read, and this is definitely one of them that's engraved into my brain. How do I put into words my thoughts and opinions? I tried to do it in multiple videos and I still can't get it right. Like that's how speechless this book leaves me. Emma Wong delves into a lot of hard topics that I feel like you see a lot in fantasy books or dystopian books where, an oppressed group is fighting the system, fighting to be heard, fighting to be respected, fighting to get their rights back. That's basically the gist of this book, but it's so much deeper than that because you're in two perspectives. You are in the perspective of one of the people who's a part of the oppressed group and one of the people who is a part of the oppressors. The majority of this book is in the oppressor's point of view. She is just trying to make a name for herself in society, and she does not care if she is looked at crazily because she's a woman trying to make her name in the society. She just wants to help. She just wants to make the community better for her people, for her land, and she does not consider the fact that this society that she's making better is the same society that is hurting a group of people that she also looks down upon. And so we're following this main character as she has to reflect on herself and what is actually important in the grand scheme of things. Being able to get a big title as a woman and, facing the misogyny that comes with that and trying to beat it, or is it actually trying to help make the world a better place by making others who also feel like they're oppressed be seen and be heard when you have the power to do so? It is such a deep, grounded message. Went into it knowing that there was a lot of hype surrounding it, but it's really just that good. Like I can't compare this to anything else, and I'm really excited to read more Emma Wong. I think that she put out a new book this year that flew under the radar for me. I had no idea, but I guess she released it as a PDF for free. Who does that? Emma Wong. So I'm gonna look more into that because I really had no idea that was a thing until like a week ago. But I also have The Sword of Kaigen. I can't wait to read that. I own it. It's on my bookshelf. I just need to read it when I am ready. The next question is, what is the worst book you've read so far in 2026? It was very easy for me to pick what this is, especially again, if you guys have been watching my videos throughout the year. I've had a pretty decent reading year, but there are like 2 or 3 books that I had to choose from that I've read this year that are definitively the worst. And when I thought more about it, I was like, no, this isn't even a contest. She Made Herself a Monster by Anna Kovačeva. I think that's how you pronounce her name. Sorry if it's not. Yeah, this book was really bad. And I think it was bad for many reasons. One being my expectations going into it were completely false. I had the expectation that we were getting like a vampire book with this, and that's not what this was. I thought we were getting a sapphic book with this. Not really what it is. Unless you squint hard enough, you can see it, but it's not like explicitly in the book. I thought we were hunting down monsters. Wasn't doing that either. The plot of this book is not what you think it is, but yet it's marketed in a way that's so misleading that by the end of the book, it really pissed me off. It's a very short book. It's like, I think a little over 200 pages. So it's not a difficult read by any means. It doesn't take you long. So I did end up finishing this book. I also read it on audio. So that was another thing. I didn't have to like physically read it, but this book was just not good to me. I couldn't get attached to any of the characters. I felt like the actual climax of the book, where things started to actually get a bit dramatic and characters were doing this and that, I couldn't follow it because we were in the perspective of so many characters that I couldn't get attached to anyone and their problems by the midway point of the book. The plot was a little bit too all over the place for me. Everything about this book I just did not like, which is a shame because again, I wanted to read it because it sounded interesting to me. What I thought the book was about wasn't actually what it was about. I'm very upset that I read this book, but I did, and I gave it, I want to say 1 star. Also, if you hear outdoor noises, I'm so sorry. The window is open because it's so hot in my room, and because I'm like recording at my desk, I can't really turn on my fan or else like the noise will overtake me in like the audio department. So like ignore any cars you hear drive by or birds. It's not that important, guys. It's not that important. Next question is the best sequel you've read so far in 2026. So I haven't really been keeping track of series I've been reading. I don't think I've really continued many series, which is a shame because that was the goal. But I am going to try to continue the series I'm in the middle of in the second half of 2026 for sure. When I read this question, the first answer that popped into my head was The Summer Hikaru Died Volume 5. That volume, we're talking about masterclass writing. The Summer Hikaru Died by Moku Mokurin. It has been one of my biggest hyperfixations of 2026. As you guys know, I started off the year like reading those volumes back to back every month. I took a little break because I don't want it to be over. I don't, because I'm almost caught up with the entire series. Gonna continue it, but I don't want to yet. Volume 5, I feel like that was the volume that kind of sort of is tying everything together, because up until that point I was trying to put pieces together of what exactly was going on with the characters in that story and how it related to like the underlying plot of how this boy Hikaru went missing and what the community might know about it, what the history of the community is. Like every single piece of the puzzle was laid out from like volumes before, and then when you get to volume 5 it just blows your mind a little bit. So I think that that's definitely the best volume of the series I've read so far, but also the best sequel I've read as well. I've been in a manga mood this year, so a lot of the sequels I've read have been manga related, but I do think that volume of The Summer Hikaru Died takes the cake as the best sequel I have read so far. It's just really that good. And it's a great manga series. I highly recommend it. It's a very sad yet kind of uplifting story, but like tragic, but also like gay. It's a lot of things. It's a lot of things, but I would recommend it. I would. Now we have to talk about the worst sequel I've read so far in 2026. Now this is when we have to have multiple options because like I said, I haven't been reading many series this year, continuing with series, but the series I have continued with, the sequels have fallen flat. So I have 2 answers for this. First, we have The Blood Gift by N.E. Davenport. And I've talked about this before. I haven't mentioned this duology series since like January because I read the first book and the second book of that duology back to back in that month. So it's been a while. I think it all just boils down to the fact that this should have been a trilogy and not a duology. And you guys know I'm never the person to say that. I enjoy a really good duology. I feel like sometimes a lot of publishers or authors like to drag out series just for a quick buck. And usually the second book in the trilogy is the lull point, and then you're like, why was this even a thing? It should have been a duology. That's how I usually feel. But with this series, it is so detailed. The world is so expansive. The characters, they're all just so nuanced. And I feel like only having this be 2 books is a complete disservice, and it still kind of makes me upset because that first book was so excellent, and the way that the cliffhanger hung was again mind-blowing. And then you get into the sequel and it's just like, it gives you no time to breathe. You have to wrap everything up from page 1 to page like 400 something. It's like, okay, so now we're here and now we're doing this and now we're here and now she solved this and now da da da. No breathing room, absolutely none. And it felt like the character development was so rushed. It felt like taking down the villain was too easy. Nothing about the book was really satisfying to me. Again, because I really liked the blood trials, I was hoping that the blood gift would do something more with the way that the story ended, and it just didn't. I think my biggest gripe with this book is just the simple fact that it should have been split into a trilogy, just to like give the characters a fair chance to actually flesh out their stories. And then the other sequel that is definitely the worst one I've read so far this year is You're Next by Tate James. Now, this is a part of the Devil's Backbone Society, which was another one of my hyperfixations in this year. I read all 3 of these books, the whole trilogy, in the span of a month. I think back in April is when I read it. That first book hit like crack. That first book was so ridiculous, but so good. I will always say it reminds me of like the fanfics that I read as a teenager on Wattpad. Like, it's one of those guilty pleasure reads. And then as you continue on with the series, it kind of gets a little bit batshit crazy in like the worst way possible. And I think You're Next, I think, is the second book, if I'm not mistaken. I think it's Dear Reader, Watch Your Back, You're Next. Yeah, it's book 3, not book 2, sorry. This book follows like a murder mystery, dark academia, reverse harem story. And like I said, it's so bad that it's good. It reminds me of like 2010's fan fiction. It reminds me of 2010 CW shows. It's one of those types of reads. And I forgot why I picked it up, but I did really enjoy that first book. And then, like I said, as the series goes on, it just gets so ridiculous in a bad way. And then when it finally ends, that third book is not good. It completely forgets what the story was about like 2 books ago, and all you're focused on is the romance. And like I said, this is a reverse harem, so like we're following like the main character and I think her 4 or 5 different love interests, and I only had 1 or 2 love interests that I liked. So every time it focused on like the others, I was so bored. I was like, are we forgetting that like your lives are at stake? Why are we not putting your lives first before like sleeping with these people? It got to a point where I was just like, this is so stupid. I didn't like the ending at all. I thought that the villain, the person who ended up being behind everything, was so corny. Like one of the corniest villains I think I've ever read in a book. It was it's that bad. And it also just made no sense. The motive, I was like, this is the illusion is now gone, and now I'm just like annoyed. So, new release you haven't read yet but want to. Okay, there are multiple for this one too, because there is a list, and you may or may not see me read these in a video coming up in the next few weeks, maybe, I don't know. The first book I really need to get to is Heartstopper Volume 6, because there's no excuse. I need to read that. I know that the movie is coming out soon, or is already out. I don't know. I don't remember what the date is for the movie, but I do want to read the last volume of Heartstopper before I watch that damn movie. I haven't even bought it yet. It's been out for the past few weeks and I haven't yet to buy it. I'm going to do it soon though. Don't worry about it, because those are my babies. And the fact that this is like the last installment in their story, I need to see them off. I need to know how Alice Oseman is going to end this series after years. And it's just, I'm too attached to not read it. I will get to it. I also need to read Kennedy Ryan's Score. I have yet to read this. I bought it as soon as it came out and then I forgot to pick it up. Hate it when that happens. This is the sequel to Real. This is a part of Kennedy Ryan's Hollywood Renaissance series, and I loved Real so much. I'm very excited for this. I can't wait to crack this open. Like I said, these might be in the next reading vlog that you see, or the next one after the next, I don't know. And then The Misconnection by Tia Williams. Need to read this. Haven't gotten to it yet. We'll get to it soon. Trust. Because I've heard like really good things about this. Like a lot of people are comparing this to like your classic 90s rom-com, and that's really exciting to me because I don't know if you guys remember, but when I talked about this book in my anticipated releases of 2026, I just put this in there because it's written by Tia Williams, and Tia Williams is one of my favorite authors, but nothing about the book seemed like really that enticing to me. Nothing that would have me jump to pick it up other than the fact that Tia Williams' name is on it. So the fact that a lot of people are saying that this is like a really good book, it makes me excited to pick it up. Next, we have most anticipated release for the second half of the year. One of these books I'm already reading, because again, this is one with 2 answers. One of these books I'm currently in the middle of, and I'm really enjoying it. That book is The Case of Elmwood Ranch by Deanna Gray. This book actually came out, I think, yesterday as the time of me recording this, either yesterday or the day before yesterday. This is Deanna Gray's newest book, a sapphic romance that deals with a haunted house and a ghost hunter and the girl who lives in the haunted house or haunted ranch. Currently reading it halfway through. So cute. I got the arc for it, but this reading slump, it's been up and down for me. So when I got the arc a few weeks ago, I was not in the state of mind to read it, but I picked it up over the weekend and it's so good, guys. It's so good. But then the other anticipated release that I'm most excited for is The Sixth Faction by Veronica Roth. You guys don't know. You don't know how much this means to me as a Divergent girly in the 2010s, okay? I used to be obsessed with Divergent by Veronica Roth. So when I found out she was releasing this like book that takes place like an alternate reality for Triss's character, I was like, give it to me now, because I still have not forgiven Veronica for how that last book ended. I still haven't. I can't talk about it. I'm so sad for whatever this is. I don't really want any spoilers, so I haven't been looking at any reviews for people that have gotten the arc or anything. I really want to go into it blind. Anything to get back into that world. I'm so sad. You guys don't get it. I used to have like a huge wall poster of Triss and 4 on my wall when I was a kid. I had all of the faction symbols on my walls. Like, this is my Roman Empire. In the big year of 2026, as like a 24-year-old woman, I can say that this is what I've been waiting for. Give it to me now, please. Biggest surprise of the year will definitely have to be Beartown by Fredrik Backman. Now, I went into this not thinking I was gonna like it as much as I did, and then it ended up being one of my favorite reads of the year. I've heard a lot of things about Fredrik Backman from like many people who have read all of his books or one of his books. A lot of people across the board just say that he's so good when it comes to the characters that he writes. And so something about that I just really wanted to read. And this book I put on hold at the library simply because I just wanted to read any Fredrik Backman book. I didn't really care which one it was. It was going to be between either this or A Man Called Ove, because I've heard really good things about that one too. But this ended up being the one I picked, and my goodness, Beartown follows a hockey team and the impacts of that team on the town and that town on the team. And that's as vague as it can get, but trust, it goes deeper. It goes deeper. Y'all know me. I'm not a sports person. I don't really care about sports. The most I'll do when it comes to sports is read a sports-centered book, whether that be like a hockey romance or a hockey-centered gen fiction book. And I did not think Fredrik Backman could get me to care about a random hockey team in the middle of Sweden, a fictional hockey team at that, and yet my heart is devoted to every character in this book. This literally knocked it out of the ballpark in terms of like my standards for like whether it be like general fiction or literary fiction, whatever. My standards are so high now because of this book. It does so much in like so little time. Like, it's only like around 400 pages. And again, I feel like I got attached to not just like the characters in this book, but the town. I feel like the town of Beartown itself is a character in the book. I feel like I've lived there my whole life. I feel like I know all of these people, the coach, to the players, to the high schoolers, to the teachers, to the bartender down the street. I feel like I know this community, and not a lot of books make me feel like that. Usually you're just dumped into the world, given a lot of exposition about what's going on, and then the story starts. But Fredrik Backman really does just make it feel like you are one with the town. You need to understand how this town works. You need to understand how these people work in order to get attached to the story fully. And it's so remarkably good. I can't recommend this book enough. and I can't wait to finish out the series because I do think this is a series I will be finishing this year if I have anything to say about it, which I do. I already read the sequel for it. I'm just waiting for the third book to come in at my library for me to read, and let me just tell you that the sequel held up just as much. Favorite new author, well, I guess I need to pick it back up. Again, I just went on about how much I love Frederick Bachman. I just think that the way he writes his characters, as someone who is a character-driven reader, his writing was meant for someone like me. And it makes me really excited to read his other books because, like I said, I've read Beartown and I've read Us Against You, which is the sequel to Beartown, and I've loved them both. And once I read the third book in this trilogy, I'm very much open to reading anything else Frederick Bachman has written. And I know that he has a pretty expansive backlist. Because he's a popular author, I am familiar with a majority of his books, like Anxious People, My Friends, That Man Called Ove, like all of these books I've heard about and I can't wait to start those. But I do want to prioritize finishing the Beartown trilogy first, and then I will get to those other ones. And then the other author that has become one of my favorites this year, off of her debut novel, mind you, is Shin Tao for her work with the Poet Empress. This book, for it to be a debut, is crazy work. Basically for the same reason as Frederick Bachman being the answer for this question, the way that Shin Tao was able to describe her characters and the story behind her characters to make me feel the way I did by the end of the book is nuts. It's crazy because you go into this book thinking, oh yeah, there is a clear villain here that needs to be taken down, and she totally dismantles that mindset for you. It's like, no, what you think is happening isn't what is actually happening. It's a lot more complex than that. There are a lot of characters in this book that you, again, need to understand in order to really have fully fleshed out thoughts and opinions on how this book should end or what the main character should do to solve the main conflict. And it's so good. It's so good. And this is a standalone. Again, the work that went into this book, I really respect it, and I can't wait for Shin Tao to release something else. This also was gonna make it into my favorite book of the year. It was so close, but it wasn't able to beat out Blood Over Bright Haven in my opinion. New fictional crush. So I was debating, I have only one listed here, but I'm typing in another one because I was debating putting the second one in here, but I think it would be me lying if I didn't. So the first crush that I have is definitely going to be Reynold Karis from This Kingdom Will Not Kill Me by Alona Andrews. Reynold is the knight character that our main character meets in this book, and everything that you know about Reynold or don't know about Reynold, he's so tea. He's so tea to me. He's one of my favorite love interests for a reason, guys. I've never experienced this with a romantasy specifically, though I don't really consider this a romantasy. I think this series, it's kind of an epic fantasy, but like with romantasy elements woven in for sure. But Reynold is such a gentleman. He's a very gentlemanly knight. But again, it's the stuff that you find out about him throughout the book that makes you really, or me, I can't project this onto you, but it made me really have like this very like heart fluttery feeling for him. I was sending like quotes that he would say to the main character to my best friends, and they'd be like, oh, he is a yearner to his core. Like, you don't have to read this book fully to understand that Reynold is taking it as like one of the best love interests in a book. He's just so good. The way that he wants the main character, like he needs the main character. Stop. It's and the thing is, I have to be vague on purpose because there's a lot in this book, especially when it comes to his character, that you find out throughout, and I can't go into specifics, but like the more you find out about this character, I don't think it's possible to say that he's not one of your faves. Like for me, at first I was like, oh, this is just a boring knight character, boo. And then as the book went on, I was like, oh my god. And it kind of also falls into one of my favorite tropes, which is the bodyguard trope, because he also like acts as a bodyguard for the main character as she goes through her journey. And I don't know if you guys know this, but that is one of my favorite tropes of all time. I don't really see it a lot in like the romances I read or the fantasies I read, but it does hit. It hits so bad here. It's so good. And then the second person that I think is definitely a fictional crush of mine has to go to Heath from the Devil's Backbone series. Heath is definitely by far my favorite out of the love interests in that series, because again, it is a reverse harem that deals with multiple love interests, and most of them I did not care about or care for other than Heath. Whenever Heath was on the page, I was locked in. That's the only character that really kept me engaged throughout the entirety of the trilogy. I'm not joking. He's such a lover boy. He is. And the way that we meet Heath in the first book is very unhinged, but I felt something. I did. And ever since that first meeting, I was like, oh, she needs to end up with him. She needs to. He's just everything. I was imagining Heath Ledger as Heath the whole entire book. I don't think he matches the description of Heath based off of like the book's description, but I was imagining Heath Ledger, and it just made the book even better. Next is a book that made you cry. I have two for this one. First book is obviously Blood Over Bright Haven. I think I got it on camera, me crying to this book. So this is kind of self-explanatory. Like I have video evidence, so I can't lie to you even if I tried. I already talked at length about it, but like this book just really hit emotionally. The messaging of it, especially in today's day and age of us living the way that we are in this really chaotic kind of low-key evil world, what you are willing to do to better society, what you are willing to give up, who you were able to give up in your life when you know that there are thousands, hundreds of thousands of people's lives who are also on the line. The conflict that the main character has, the internal conflict that she has of having to unlearn all of the prejudices that she has known and what she's willing to give up. And then like also the kind of love story between the two main characters and the way that the book ends, everything about this really struck a chord. By the time I got to like the last 20 pages, I was a mess. And I have no regrets because this book deserved all my tears, I kid you not. And then the other book that had me sob uncontrollably was Fishbone Cinderella by Elizabeth Lim. This is an arc that I read in the same video that I read Blood Over Bright Haven, because this was a predicted 5-star read for me. And although this did not get 5 stars, it was so close to being a 5-star because of the emotional impact it had on me. In this book, we are basically unpacking a lot of generational trauma between a mother and her daughter. And whenever I read books with that kind of premise, it's one of my favorite things, especially if the author can do it well. It's gonna get 10s across the board every time for me. Again, I didn't get a 5 out of 5 star because there was like one thing that I wanted out of the book that just wasn't there. But again, this is an arc, so this is not the finished copy. Who knows? Maybe the finished copy has a little bit more details in it that I would have liked. This book doesn't come out until July 28th, so there's still a few weeks. I would say keep a lookout for this book. If you like a good Cinderella retelling with a little magical realism and also historical fiction element, I would highly recommend. This is my first Elizabeth Lim book and it was amazing. I've heard a lot of good things about Elizabeth Lim, but this was definitely like crazy. It was a crazy experience to read this. I honestly can't wait for it to come out so more people can talk about it, because I kind of just felt like I've been in the quiet about this book, trying to like keep my thoughts together because a lot of people have not read it yet. Please read it when it comes out. So good, so good. A book that made me happy is actually one that I read recently, Audition for the Fox by Martin Cahill. This book follows a girl named Nessie who is just trying to find her purpose in life when everyone else knows what they want to do with their lives, feels like they have a clear trajectory of where they want to go. She does not, and she feels inadequate. She feels like a loser essentially, and so she goes to the fox spirit to audition for him, because in this world everyone has to audition for one of the 99 gods. If you nail your audition, you become an acolyte for that god and you harness their power and make the world a better place with it. But she has failed almost every single audition. Almost all 99 auditions she has failed except for 3, and one of them is the fox. And so she goes to the fox and she's like, I would like to audition for you. And through her audition for this god, she finds out that she can figure out what she's good at her own time, at her own pace. No one can really tell her that she is a loser because she is trying her best with what she has, and she has skills that no one else has. Maybe she hasn't found them out yet, but she still needs to continue to try and move forward. And I think that the messaging of that is really beautiful and powerful, especially in a book that's as small as this. I read it in my 12-hour readathon, and I just think what Martin Cahill was able to do in a book this short was really good. It definitely like hit the mark emotionally in terms of like my happiness. It was just kind of lighthearted, kind of sad, but at the end of the day, like the messaging of it was what really sold the book for me. Yeah, this book definitely made me happy. The most beautiful book you bought so far this year or received. Now this is one that you guys already saw in my last book haul video, because this was one that I was very excited to show you guys. A Song of Legends Lost by M.H. Iand. This is the Illumicrate edition. This book is gorgeous, and it came in at my job as a used book, and as soon as I saw it, I was like, I have to take this home with me, because it's just stunning. Everything about it, from like the sprayed edges to the cover, I was entranced. I needed to take it home with me. It's so pretty. But yeah, this is definitely my prettiest book. I can't wait to start this. This is one of those books that I really do want to get to before the end of the year, because I've heard really, really good things about it. And when I saw this, I was like, okay, me owning a copy is going to remind me to read it at some point, so let's hope I can start this before the end of the year. But look at how pretty it is. It would be a disservice if I didn't start this before the end of the year. Speaking of books that I need to read before the end of the year, that's what the next question is. There are two books that I definitely need to prioritize reading, because I've been putting them off for a while, and there's no excuse. The Lost Hero by Rick Riordan. This is the first book in the Heroes of Olympus series. I'm going to start this series. I need to start it by reading the first book. The reason I've been putting it off is because I do want to reread the last book, or maybe the last two books of the Percy Jackson series, just so I can feel caught up and that I'm not missing anything. I remember how the Percy Jackson series ended, but I don't remember all of the nitty-gritty details of how like some characters from that series collide in this one. And I want to feel like I'm on the right track, and I haven't felt the need to pick up the last two books in the Percy Jackson series yet. Like, I'm just not in the mood to, but when I am in the mood, hopefully before the summer ends, I might prioritize doing that in August, because I do want to read this in like the fall. It feels weird that I've read Percy Jackson and I have not read Heroes of Olympus, especially now that I own all the books. Another fantasy that I would like to get to before the end of the year is The Fifth Season by N.K. Jemisin. This is a trilogy that I own. I own all three books, and I have not started it, and I don't know why I haven't. I'm gonna be honest, I don't know why. I own all three. Again, this is like ridiculous of me, but I do want to start it because a lot of people say that this is one of the best fantasy books of all time. I don't know if it's fantasy or sci-fi. I'm down. I'm so down to read it. I also have like another duology by N.K. Jemisin that I would like to start soon. I think I would like N.K. Jemisin's books. I don't know why I haven't started this yet. I feel like I would definitely like it. So those are the two books that I'm prioritizing the most. There are definitely more that I would like to get to before the end of the year, but I'm trying to be realistic with my list, because I have been taking my time throughout the year, just to like pace myself with reading. If I don't feel like reading a specific book, then I just won't read that specific book. I'll read something I'm more in the mood for, and these books have just not come up in my moods lately, but I'm hoping at some point in the second half of the year I will be able to get there. That's going to be the end of this video. If you guys enjoyed this, thank you so much. I have missed doing book tags. I might do more. I don't know. I don't know what other book tags there are. I'm sure there are some, but I can't think of any. But if you guys have any other book tags you would like me to do, I will gladly do them, because like I said, I enjoy them. I need to read enough books in order to do a book tag, and for the life of me, I could not I could not finish enough books within the past few years to warrant me doing book tags. But this was fun, and I really did enjoy it. If you would like to follow me on my social media, it'll all be linked down in the description below. And yeah, I think that's it. I will see you guys in my next video. Bye everyone.